Today, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of living inside the city of Austin versus the suburbs. If one had a choice, because of the nightlife and the things available, most would probably choose to live in the city. But on the other hand, is like if you've got the family, then it might make more sense to, small children, it might make more sense to live in the suburbs with school districts and things like that. What would be your first thought? What are the advantages, disadvantages of one versus the other?
I definitely see, like you said, the kids and having a family and a more slower lifestyle. You definitely want to be in the suburbs where it's a little bit more comfortable to go to the grocery store, and parking's a little bit better. Stuff's less chaotic and less people are coming in and out, which is a little bit better for like younger ones, I know. But if you have a little bit faster paced lifestyle, you don't have kids or anything like that to be concerned with, living downtown or even like closer to Central Austin or East Austin can be really fun for people. I know there's a lot of different stuff going on around there, and they can walk to bars, restaurants, stuff like that. Some of my friends I know, they have electric bikes, and that's how they get around. They don't even really drive at all unless they really have to go far, and they love it. That's like the kind of lifestyle they were looking for.
If you go back to say like the 40s, most of the population clustered around the urban cores. Well, then as you moved into the 50s, 60s, they began that migration to the suburbs. Then it began to reverse, right, where people were more interested in living downtown. Now, the other kind of wild card that we've seen here recently is COVID. And if you're living in a condo and you have some of those lockdowns, you can't go to any of those common spaces.
Exactly.
If you have your own yard, your home office, then you have more space. And that began a mini migration to the suburbs where you have that more space. So it's no right or wrong answer. Certainly it comes down to someone's preferences or needs.
Yeah.
If you're living and working downtown, certainly you would reduce or eliminate your commute.
Yeah.
Your friends with the bikes, right? I've heard other people do that. They have a car, and the only time they would need to use that car is if they had to go out of town for some reason. We talked a little bit about school districts. Certainly if you have children of school age, for the most part, the higher rated school districts are going to be in the suburbs.
All their activities too, like the ballet schools, taekwondo, whatever little things they do on the side swim.
Proximity to things like that. If you're looking for outdoor activities, if you live in the city, you're going to have to drive somewhere to get to the walking trails or the lakes. One thing that we haven't talked about is the cost of living. If you had to live downtown, your cost of entry, whether it be renting or buying, is going to be higher than it would be as you move out. Further out you go, the lower the prices get. But if you had the budget to live anywhere, then I think it would come down to some of those things that we talked about before. Anything else that comes to mind?
You kind of touched on it, but like kind of access point to like trailheads and stuff like that, like or the green belt. Sorry, I'm still used to my old terms, but if people want to go to the green belt every day and run outside, like some people hate treadmills, they don't want to go to a gym, they want to have a scenic place to run.
Right.
Or they want to be next to the farmer's market. I know people love the Mueller area because now they have like restaurants, the Alamo. What do you typically do most often, and is that nearby? Some people like climbing, so they move closer to all the different climbing places around here. I know there's kind of a cult following for that here, which is pretty cool.
What have we talked about? We've talked about certainly the cost of living is going to probably be the first question, and then access to events and happenings, restaurants are usually going to favor closer to the urban core. School-age children activities are probably going to favor suburbs. Outdoor activities, the Ann and Roy Butler hike and bike trails around Lady Bird Lake kind of evens it out. Might even tilt it in favor of downtown.
I know if you have pets too.
Pets.
I wanted to specifically get a house with a backyard to rent from. That way I wouldn't have to stay in an apartment anymore and walk around on a leash. Like some people, if you live downtown, they have a dog park, and that's your option. Might not be best for you because they're just kind of going on the turf, and you can assume what happens to that in the baking hot Texas sun. You know what I mean? Or go downtown, and can be sketchy in some areas. My
first thought when you talked about condo downtown, you do have access to those Lady Bird Lake trails. That I think is one of the huge pluses of living downtown.
My favorite place to run, honestly.
The unsaid part of living downtown is that we had a pretty visible homeless problem when the city reversed the camping ban, and you had the homeless pretty much taking up roots everywhere under freeway overpasses, down on those trails. They reinstated it, it was voted back in, but the implementation of that has been somewhat slow. It's not like a San Francisco where you walk down the street and you have to, walk around them. And I'm assuming that's what you just talked about with the sketchies.
Specifically, I know if you're ever trying to go from like Greeny Street or like 6th Street and you're out around there and you try to walk over underneath 35 bridge and then you try to get back over, there's just like a specific neck of the woods where very unique characters come out to play, let's say. That's where some people live near. There's lots of really nice apartments around there, so whenever they walk down, that's kind of what you walk out around.
Yeah.
And if you're walking your dog every day, I don't know what the odds are of running into someone interesting. So some people, they don't care. They'll do what they need to do. They're not concerned by it. But me personally, I just like opening a door and letting my dog go outside.
Right. Let's call it what, more safe areas or areas where you feel safer?
Yeah. There could be an illusion of it, but to me, it's what I know is safe, being from Oklahoma in a small town.
No,
So
I get it, yeah.
I think picking a new place to live, you kind of have to base it on like what you appreciate about where you lived before and what you want to live in at the same time. Those are two things that you can consider.
There are a lot of options, and there are a lot of different types of people with different types of needs. So somewhere in there, the Metro should offer something for everyone.
Yeah.
It just really comes down to where I think someone's priorities might be, and that would probably going to dictate where the best area or the most attractive area would be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to try a place and then try again. It took me a while to kind of figure out where I want to be. And sometimes you just don't know until you've lived there a little bit.
That's true. That's when you really know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to come with an expectation, another thing to actually live there for a while, and then that's your own experience with that, which may change. It may be different.
Set up an expectation and let yourself have a good time.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this. Hopefully this has been beneficial. Anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
No, just thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on and doing this. It's always fun to share this knowledge with people.